All right, what's up guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at the new Honolulu J2 NF. You will probably notice that on mine it does say NFL. I think this was a name they were playing with originally, but they probably didn't want to get a lawsuit from the NFL Football League. So while mine does have the L on it, I think all production models will not have it. So these first impressions are on this one with NFL, but I did tell them to send me a full final production unit for when we eventually do a full review. The only paddles we ever review are final production versions. We don't do prototypes. I always make sure that we have a final for real reviews, just in case anyone was wondering. Also, if you're curious, in the background here is my unfinished, unpainted pickleball court. Hopefully, by the time I come back from China, this thing is actually painted, but unfortunately, it still is not painted. All right, so right away in this first impressions, I'm gonna make a pretty bold statement. I think this J2 NF is probably going to be what the J2K was last year, which is to say that it is going to be significantly popular. I mean, the performance in my initial impressions of this paddle is extremely positive. In fact, in the handful of sessions I've already put on this, I literally don't have a single negative thing to say about this paddle. Now, as we work on doing a full review, maybe we'll find some stuff that we don't really love about it or things that are more problematic, but right now the performance is exceptionally top tier. And when you combine it with the fact that this will be the cheapest foam paddle on the market at $195 before a code and then $175 after code PB Studio, that is a significant drop in price over all the other foam paddles. The Diadem Blue cores are $280, the Selkirk 008 is $288, and then the Carbon True Foam is also $280. So going $100 cheaper is a really big deal for this paddle. Now, one of the things they did differently with this paddle, which will pop up a picture on screen for you, and why it has the NF in the name, is it stands for notched foam. So if you're looking at this design now, basically it kind of looks like a puzzle piece where they have two different foams that are notching into each other. My understanding of it right now is that the center is an EPP foam and then the outer ring is an EVA foam. So that's kind of what's making this paddle special from a design point and feel different from some of its competitors out there. Now, right now we're only going to be talking about the NF version, which is a carbon fiber fiberglass carbon fiber layup, but they will in the future also have the NFK, which is a Kevlar, and then the NFT, which is a titanium or polyester surface. But I don't know when those are releasing, so right now we're only going to be talking about the NF. Okay, so let's get into the performance of this paddle. How did it hold up for different shots? Honestly, this is a very easy paddle to play with for a power paddle. In fact, I feel like there's a lot of similarities in probably how an 11624 Power Series performs. Like, it has very good power. It has very good pop. At the net, if you want to put a ball away, you are going to be able to put a ball away. In fact, when Isaac was playing with this, he was hitting the ball very, very hard. But also, when you're going to dink or reset or hit a drop off the face, it has a feel that is very easy to control. There was never a point with dinks or resets where I was like, oh man, like I'm just popping the ball up. This is too hard to use. I really didn't have to think that much about it at all. And I think what really helped with that compared to some of the other foam core paddles is the sweet spot on this thing feels huge. So the J2K last year was very well known for having kind of an oversized sweet spot. And I feel like that kind of carries over to this, at least in my initial impressions, because the Carbon True Foam, when it comes out of the box, the sweet spot's only okay. It's not terrible, but it definitely has some problems. And this, out of the box, zero complaints. In fact, I didn't even feel like it really needed weight, but I would imagine weight would probably unlock some more performance out of this, similar to how it does on a True Foam. So yeah, as far as power paddles go, I find it very easy and very consistent to use. I love the feedback it gives, which is a little bit more crisp and maybe closer to stiff. It's not super soft, it's not super plush, but it also doesn't feel like a board or anything like that. I think some of the areas that I noticed it having very good power was on serves, returns, and especially if you wanted to put a ball away. At the moment, I wouldn't put it on par with a Pro 4 or a Ripple, but it certainly is no slouch when it comes to power. Now, before we wrap this up, I do want to throw a comparison in here. I did get to briefly hit it side by side, my True Foam, and I will say the difference between them was smaller than I expected. However, what you guys really need to keep in mind is my True Foam is heavily weighted up. I probably have about 8 to 9 inches of half-gram tungsten tape at 3 and 9 down the length of the paddle, and that weight setup completely transforms the Carbon 2 into a very awesome paddle. I feel like it's very different from when it comes out of the box. So if you are comparing a stock True Foam or even a Carbon 3 or 1, your results may vary in how similar it is to this. The biggest thing I think I noticed was that the True Foam felt more bouncy off the face, and this felt maybe just a little bit more predictable. And as far as I know, the fiberglass layer inside of this uses the entire face versus the True Foam where it's just a cutout. So I think that is one of the reasons this probably feels a little bit more consistent to use. But yeah, with the weight setup that I have on my Carbon, I kind of felt like the power and pop levels were actually a lot more similar than I was expecting. When I first hit this, I thought for sure it was definitively gonna have more pop and power, but my weighted up Carbon honestly hits pretty hard. So if you are coming from a heavily weighted up True Foam, you might not find as big of a difference. But of course, that's something I'll unpack more for our full review when I can hit them a lot more and figure out some of the more nuanced differences between them. But I will say, I have used the Carbon True Foam 2 as my main for about 5 to 6 months now, and this is one of the only paddles that has significantly tempted me to switch. I think right now the only thing I don't love is the shorter handle. I can get over it, but it is definitely shorter and probably annoy me just a little bit these days. But this is a very, very, very strong contender to be a main, and it's something that I'm very excited to play with more. So yeah, that's about all I got for you guys. I would say prepare for this to be an extremely popular paddle this year, especially at the price that it's going to launch at. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.